good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope this finds you well. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me and spending some of your time, some of your part of your day listening to me, and maybe I can provoke some thought, along the way. And, I used to think, why would people watch my videos, And yet I will go onto YouTube. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's one guy I watch on there. It's called Survival Instinct. I'll leave a link below. And he's in Sumatra, and he's surviving in the bush. Now he goes back into his village every so often, and so on and so forth. There is no talking whatsoever. Why do I watch that? Because it's interesting to watch other people do ordinary things, or what seem ordinary to them and extraordinary to me. Some of the traps that he makes are absolutely amazing. Or Rickvanman in England there, he does van rebuilds and so on and so forth, and there's something fascinating of watching ordinary people doing interesting things with their lives. I find it very inspirational, and I hope that I'm an inspiration to some of you out there, that some of the adventures that I've been getting up to over the years. And you have to remember that when we go back through history, what historians love to find is a cachet of letters, love letters, people who were separated, and they were writing backwards and forwards to each other, explaining what life was like for them in their particular situation, because that's the real history of the world. And that's where it's written, and it's written now in these YouTube videos. This is normal, everyday people doing either ordinary things or extraordinary things, depending on which way you look at it. So it's not unimportant. It's not unimportant to have someone sitting behind a camera just talking like this about how they feel about things, how they see things, and their opinion on things. And this is how we create our narrative, the kind of narrative that we want to have going forward. And I encounter people in many situations, and they're absolutely frustrated because they do not know what to do. This situation that we're in is so strange and alien to us, that we really don't know how to deal with it or react to it. It's very provocative, it is incredibly divisive, and yet there seems to be no way, firstly, to stem this spew of divisive anger coming out in the mainstream media, forcing people against each other, driving a wedge between people. I mean, absolutely incredible. But there are things that we can do. And I'm going to link a video below with Catherin Fitz, who I absolutely adore. She is a brilliant woman, and it's how you can use your money to change the world. And I read an incredible quote the other day, and I forget who the quote was by, but it said, "People don't change things. Habits change things. And if you change people's habits, you will change the world." And those habits are changed one by one I have an average viewer count of about somewhere between 700 and 1,200. Sometimes they get a bit higher than that. But those 1,200 people, if you can influence them to do something very simple with their lives that can change our world, then that's incredible. That's 1,200 people. I'm often staggered, by the difference that could make. One of the things she talks about is putting your money into a credit union. Now, you need to do a little bit of research to find out how much these credit unions invest back into the community, but all credit unions are bound to put some portion of their investment back into mortgages for local homeowners and local business startups. So this is your money going back into your community, whereas if you put it into a major bank, you could be financing a gold mine in Bolivia, or a lithium mine, in who knows, Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan or somewhere like that, right? Damaging the environment. So what you do with your money is unbelievably important. Where you keep it, how you spend it. Actually, another link I will leave below in the description is a little video called The Economics of Happiness. And they go through what happens, when you spend your money at a mom and pop store as opposed to a big box store, when you go to a thrift store, when you buy your gifts at these vintage stores, where people are selling off second-hand, vintage vases, whatever it is that you want to buy. You can give a unique gift for a really good price, and you can put that money back into your community. And this video, The Economics of Happiness, says that when you spend your money locally, 90 cents out of every dollar goes back into your community. Okay, so you are making your community more resilient. The other thing is that, of all of the 3 R's, the reuse, reduce and recycle, reduce is good, of course, but recycling usually means you have to add more energy into that, whatever that waste is, to make it into something else. But reusing, you are really extending the value and the life of the item that you are picking up. I've got certain, none of my clothes, none of these clothes that you're seeing on me are new. These are all from thrift stores. Okay, and that money goes back into the community. So we really do have a lot more power. But what we're going to learn as we move into, the next phase of humanity is that all of us have to start acting independently. Someone said to me the other day that, well, Steve, I don't know how to make videos. And I go, well, that's okay. Yeah, I'm doing videos because this is what I know how to do. One of the things I know how to do. But each one of us has to assume that responsibility and start chipping away at this narrative and changing the narrative to the one that we want to have for our future. And if we're going to do that, we need to change our habits. So shift your money into a credit union. Shop locally. Shop at thrift stores. Shop with cash. Cash is not this big scary thing. I licked my thumb the other day when I went into a store to count some money because we got this plastic money and it's slippery. And, this woman was tutting me about the bacteria and how harmful it is and blah-de-blah-de-blah. And I said to her, I joined my first ship when I was 16. I've been to just about every continent in this world. I have been exposed to every kind of money that you can think of. I always lick my thumb to start off counting money. I don't wash my hands between handling money. And yet here I am, 69 years old, and I'm still happy and healthy. And I said, this is how you build up your immune system. And she shook her head, I don't know, no, whoa. She's wearing a mask, okay? I don't know what it is with this whole wearing a mask thing. I mean, it's unbelievable. Don't people realize by now that these things don't work? And I've told a few people that you can look this up. Actually, I will leave another link I will leave below in the description is a study by the NIH about the Spanish influenza in 1918, where more people died of bacterial pneumonia from wearing masks than they did from the actual Spanish influenza. Now they don't say it was masks. They're very clever with their words. They'll say from breathing recirculated air. Well, how did that happen? There's only one way you can breathe recirculated air is because you have something covering your face, and it was the bacteria that was on those masks and going back into the body that caused the damage. So there you go. Anyways. This is how you change things. Those little conversations, those little comments that you leave behind, because, we will have to convert, but we will have to change people's minds one at a time. And that really actually won't happen until, like, she might bump into somebody who says a similar thing and she'll go, oh yeah, that's 2 people who said that to me. Wow. You may have changed one person's mind, and that doesn't sound like much. But that's the way we have to approach this. This is why they're doing, the globalists, the WEF, and those people, that's why they're doing what they're doing. Putting posts on the internet. Every time you put a post up on Facebook, there's a little thing about CV and the pandemic and, how inoculations are tested and blah, 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 climate change. So that's what they're doing. They're putting that little tag up there because they know that you capture people one at a time. You capture their attention. And if we're going to change things, if we're going to change this world into something that we want to live in, that is how we're going to do it. Not taking up arms. Protests are good because they show people that there are other people who are thinking the same way. So it's a public display. But really thinking that protests are going to be the answer is not the answer. It's these underestimated, undervalued things that we think will do nothing. Well, what can it do if I just change my bank account from, TD to the Quarter Credit Union? Individually, nothing. But if we do that collectively, that's huge because there are so many more of us than there are of them. And so we can direct where our money goes and upset their apple cart because they need that money to do unethical mining in Bolivia. So there you go. These are simple things that we can do, and that's what we need to acknowledge. And I think it's an opportunity that many people are missing because they're looking for that big thing, that single big thing that they can do to make a statement, or they're overwhelmed by the size of the project. And so I remind myself continuously that hopefully there is somebody in the next town over, the next county over, the next state over, the next province over, the next country over, thinking the same thoughts that I am and doing the same things that I am. And that's why I want to share what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. So if I can encourage other people to do that, we can spread this narrative much more quickly. And I think that we can have a wonderful combination of technology, and this is something that always frustrates me because we have some wonderful technology. I'm not anti-technology at all. I just hate the idea that every piece of technology is weaponized immediately. Oh, we can track you on your cell phone. Well, do I really care about that? No, until you make some law that was retroactive and I happen to be in some place where it wasn't illegal to be and it's now illegal to be, and I get, why do we need to do that kind of stuff? Can't we start treating each other like human beings with that kind of dignity and respect? Because these people wouldn't like it. They would not like it when they get tracked and then that's used against them. Okay? But anyway, I digress. We need to start acting as an independent group of people who are going to make these decisions on our own behalf without being told. You need to see opportunities wherever you are in your particular situation and take that moment to contradict the narrative, to have the evidence ready. Use some of these things that I put in the description box as your evidence. Okay, this is very, very important that we all do. When you see things on Facebook, when you see a post that you think is good, a meme, share it. If we all shared, regardless of their censorship, we would overwhelm the system. Okay, and these memes, again, they do more than you can imagine. They hate that. You think Klaus Schwab has a sense of humour? Look at the guy, he's like frickin' Darth Vader, for Christ's sake. You think he ever laughs? Unless it's it's a sneer. So they hate it that's why they try and shut down this stuff, like Pepe the Frog. They hated it because it made them look exactly as they are, a bunch of clowns trying to manipulate and control the world, which won't work. We're all seeing now they caused all the problems, and they're trying to fix all the problems that they caused, and they're going to fix it on our backs. No. So we need to break that, and the way we're going to break it is by laughing at them. These people, they need to be laughed at. And you see what's happened. I mean, it's interesting that, we're seeing now protests in China. And this is what will happen with this system, because the Chinese now have overlaid this control grid, okay, which is so tight, which is so narrow, that you can't live in the real world underneath that control grid. So you have to keep stepping outside of it to survive. And every time you step outside of it, you are picked up as someone who is not conforming to the control grid. And so everyone has now been driven to the absolute limit with these lockdowns. And even the Chinese, under the absolute Orwellian dictatorship that they live under and the kind of results, they know what's going to happen. There's going to be a hard clampdown on this. And still, even they are protesting. And that's what happens. You see, they build a control grid that you can't live within. I don't know if you've ever seen, some of the government averages. They'll say that the average rent in Toronto, for example, for a single person is $1,200 a month. Well, it's frickin' not. It's more like $1,800 to $2,500, depending on the size of the apartment. Even a small apartment is not $1,200 a month, but that's their average. Okay, and if you can't live within that average, well, that's your problem. So they don't, they build a control grid that's not based on the real world, and that's why they fail, because eventually, just so many people, that more and more and more people cannot live within those confines, those boundaries, and so they have to break out of them. And the end result is always protests and destruction, because there's the anger there that, why didn't you do this before? Okay, why have you let it get to this point? And that's why that's what I've never understood about civilizations that have collapsed. When you look at them, when they're at the end of their cycle, there was a myriad of little things that they could have done, to ameliorate the situation, to basically be a bit more fairer, to make the system work. But oh no, they shut out all opposition and criticism, and then they started to tighten the nut. Because all the narrative that they were hearing was their own narrative. And of course their own narrative supported exactly what they were doing. So it became like a snake devouring itself. So there you go. So don't forget how important these little things are. And I would really encourage you to think about everything that you do. Every video you see, scroll down the first 20 comments. And if you see a troll in there, bounce back at them. Counteract. You're there. It doesn't take a second to add that comment saying, let's see your information. I think you're a troll. This kind of stuff. Okay? Because it's not out of your way. You're already there. And if we all do stuff like that, the collective impact will be huge. Okay, well, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant morning, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.